Hello everyone, welcome to DragonCharts. In today's chart analysis, we are looking at a stock that trades on the New York Stock Exchange. Although DragonCharts typically focuses on stocks that trade on the various Asian stock markets, we also have a lot of our clients and a lot of our students who like to trade on the American stock markets as well. So we tend to rotate and look at stocks in various markets. This particular stock is called the Market Vectors Gold Miners ETF, ticker symbol GDX. This is an exchange-traded fund that's comprised of a basket of individual gold mining stocks. Although we typically look to profit from stocks that are moving higher, it is also possible to profit from stocks that are moving lower, and this is handy when the stock market enters into a correction period. So we do this through something known as short selling. Short selling is basically the same as buying and selling a stock, except we first sell the stock through borrowing it from our broker. We sell it hopefully at a higher price, and then we look to buy it back when the stock goes lower. This particular setup we think looks pretty good for a short setup, and let's take a look at why that is. First of all, in yesterday's analysis we talked about how a prior level of support becomes a new level of resistance after the support is broken. And the same is true when something is a level of support and the support gets broken, that support becomes resistance. Now in this particular case, this red line we're looking at is called the 200-day moving average. This is a long-term indicator of trend. And notice how back in January, after the stock came down to this 200-day moving average, it rallied higher. And again in March it came down to this 200-day moving average and rallied higher. But this time in May, it broke down below it. So therefore this prior support right here will now act as resistance, thereby making it difficult for the stock to move back up above this line. So we waited and waited and waited patiently, and now the stock has rallied into resistance of this 200-day moving average. Now we also like to look for multiple levels of convergence. In this case we have a trend line that you can see here. This is called a trend line we're drawing. And we draw the trend line by connecting the lows of the prior trend. And notice how this trend line converges. It meets up, in other words, with the same price as the 200-day moving average over here. The white and the red lines meet up together. And as the price is moving higher, it's bumping into this prior trend line and this 200-day moving average. And this is going to make it difficult for the stock to move much higher. This means it's actually setting up to provide a potential short entry. Now an aggressive entry could be for someone to short simply where the stock is right now, but a little bit lower risk entry point would be to wait for the stock to now move below the low of today. And in today's session, the stock traded at a low of 56.37. So if over the next day or two the stock drops below this low of 56.37, below this level right here, we would actually look to initiate a short position, a conservative short position. And our expectation would be a resumption of the downtrend that started with these highs here. We would look first for the stock to come back down and test these lows around the $53 area, and then potentially go down to make another low all the way down to around $50 before it found support again. Of course, as always, we want to use protective stops. So our protective stop would be just above the high of this convergence of the 200-day moving average and the trend line, going about 50 cents higher to a point higher to give the stock a little bit of wiggle room. So this is just one example of how we can profit from stocks that are going down as well as stocks that are going up. And this is one of the things that we teach our students, is how to profit on both sides of the market. If this looks interesting to you, but you have no idea what short selling is, or even what support or resistance is, be sure to join us in our next live webinar, where we will teach all of our students more about the basics of getting started with trading. At DragonCharts, we create traders through education.